What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Through the Snakevine. We're on episode 9. My name is Sal, and we have Nazar down there, and our special guest, Garrick DeMeyer here.
Everybody.
Nazar, really looking forward to this one. We've been, big fans of Garrick for a long time, and I'm sure most of you have seen quite a few of his videos online on YouTube. So, how are you doing today, Garrick?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. 82 degrees and bright sunny. It's nice. Summer is finally here, I think, and loving it.
Yeah, and you guys get pretty harsh winters in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin.
Yeah, winters are brutal up here. Yeah, we were probably the coldest or one of the coldest places in the country in winter, and and I'm not a cold weather guy at all. I love heat. I'm lucky that I get to work in a building that's 80 plus degrees every day. So it's always shorts and t-shirt weather in there, no matter if it's 20 below zero outside or if it's 90 degrees outside. I'm always in the same gear in the shop, so it's nice.
Nice.
And you didn't have plans to move from Wisconsin a little bit south?
Well, I'd love to, but to move 2,000 plus snakes and all the racks and everything, and to find a building or build a building that I could have everything in. It's a little much. And plus my kids are in school yet. So maybe I'm 48 right now, I'll be 49 in October. Maybe, 10, 12 years from now, when I kind of decide I want to scale back a little bit. We definitely, my wife and I are both warm weather lovers. So I think we eventually envision moving down south, or possibly doing having a condo up here and having one down south. If I could find somebody else to kind of manage the animals for me, I'd love to spend my summers up here and my winters anywhere but here.
Yeah.
So what state do you like?
Well, I like the climate of Florida, at least along the coast. I don't know if I'd really want to live in Central Florida. It's just so hot and humid.
Yeah.
I love Arizona too. Texas is nice. Probably, I think for me, it'd probably be one of those 3 states that I'd probably want to settle into.
That's awesome.
Okay, nice. Okay, so first question we have.
Yeah.
Question here. So, what's been one of the hardest things you've encountered in your years of breeding ball pythons?
Well, that's a tough question. I don't really think anything is hard about breeding ball pythons. I guess it was initially, when I started working with, I've had ball pythons since about 1993, but I didn't start breeding them until 2000. And in the from 90, probably 95 through 97, I would always buy a group of normal females. When all the farm raised ones would come into the country, and I'd get a group of them, and I'd start growing them up. And at the time, there were very few morphs out there, and they're all so expensive. I had no plans of ever owning. I never thought I'd own an albino ball python, let alone be producing hundreds of them a year. So back then, I'd have these normals, I'd start growing them up, and then I'd think, what am I ever going to do with these? So then I'd sell them after a year. And I did that 2 or 3 times. But then in 2000, I traded 100 hatchling leopard geckos for 10 adult breeder female normal ball pythons. And
Nice.
So that was in I think I got them in 1999, but in 2000 was the first year I started breeding any of them. And so back then, I couldn't afford any of the visible morphs, and there were very few of them around. But so I actually bought a het albino male, a het pied male, a het axanthic male, a het caramel male, and I started breeding those to these normal females, because that's all. I mean, those het males were all $1,000 a piece back then. So
Wow.
I would buy these males, and I went the long way. When I started, it wasn't just throwing a bunch of money into it and having all these morphs right away. I bought these males, and I bred them to my normal females, produced my possible het offspring, kept all the possible het females back, and then bred them back to either het males, or some of them, the albino, actually did fork out $4,250 for an albino in 2000. So when those possible hets were ready to breed, I actually bred them to an albino. But all the other ones, it was all het to het breeding, or het to possible het breeding. And then so I'd say the hardest thing I've encountered was just getting my breeding colony going with actual morphs. That was, with breeding reptiles, you can either put a lot of money into it, or you can put a lot of time into it. And back then, I was fairly recently graduated from college. I didn't have any money. And so I was mostly just putting the time in, and I've just put time in and just, grew my collection fairly slowly at first. But then once I started producing morphs, then I held back everything I could afford to. And eventually, my collection just grew out of control to what it is now. So the hardest thing was getting my collection started. But over time, like I feel like I've got ball pythons dialed in really well now. Like I could produce ball pythons without even hardly trying. When I got 5 clutches today, they just come continuously. Like I think I actually have 100 and I'm thinking I'm at like 137 clutches for the year now so far. So
that's
and
a
I'm
lot
only,
of babies.
It's less than a third of the way done too. I mean, I've got a lot of gravid females yet, and I think last year I produced I think it was like 389 clutches or something like that. I keep a spreadsheet with all my clutches every year, so I can go back all the way to I think 2010 or 2011 is when I started doing that. So I can go back and look up all of my clutches over that period of time. So yeah, it's my addiction to ball pythons definitely gone pretty out of control over the past 20 years. I can't believe this year is my 21st year of producing ball pythons, and it's just I can't believe I'm actually in this. Like 20 years ago, I would have never guessed. Back then, my whole plan was when I started, I was like a gecko and bearded dragon and chameleon breeder, and ball pythons. Like my goal was to have like maybe 1 or 2 racks of ball pythons for my entire business, and most of my business was based around the dragons and the chameleons and the geckos. And then 2 racks of ball pythons, that just wasn't going to work for me. I started getting more and more and more, and eventually I started cutting out other collections that I had, like my bearded dragons and chameleons. I ended up moving away from those projects and to focus more on ball pythons. And eventually I even moved away from most of my gecko projects. I used to produce between 3,000 and 4,000 geckos every year, and about 1,000 bearded dragons and probably like 800 veiled chameleons per year. And I just don't have the time to do all that anymore. Like I'm all ball pythons now. I mean, I do have some geckos yet, but it's mostly ball pythons now.
Okay, so you're only breeding ball pythons, right?
Mm-hmm.
No
other type of snake. Oh, well, I do have green tree pythons too, but it's not a very big collection. I think I have a total of, I think it's 9 females, but I really
it's still nice. It's still good. It's still nice.
Yeah, and most of those females are from like 2013 until now, I've been holding back all of my green tree pythons that I produced, which hasn't been that many. But and then I wait until they're sexable, and I keep even pairs and sell off any extra males. So I have a couple more juvenile females that I'm growing up right now. But I don't want to get too out of control with green tree pythons. I love them, but the eggs are
beautiful.
Harder. Yeah, the eggs are hard to hatch though, compared to ball pythons, and the babies can be just nightmares to get to start feeding consistently. And I can't imagine like having 300 baby green tree pythons and trying to get them all to feed. Like I would lose my mind just sitting there and trying to get them to feed would not be fun.
Yeah, no
but
kidding.
You don't breed bearded dragons, no geckos, just ball pythons.
No, I have a blue-tongued skink in my office here. That's just a family pet. And I've got some anoles, actually brown anoles in a display tank downstairs. Just and a house gecko that's like 10 or 12 years old is in there too. Just some things I have in the house. But otherwise, yeah, as far as breeding goes, I produce a small number of crested geckos yet, some leopard geckos, and then I've got giant day geckos as well. That's actually the first species I ever bred way back in 1992 in my dorm room in college. I bought a pair of day geckos and hatched babies out in there. And that was kind of the beginning of my business. I hatched some babies out. I traded those for, I think I got some leopard geckos, and everything just started growing from there. Mm-hmm. So I always want to keep at least a couple of giant day geckos around.
the giant day geckos, they're the green ones, right, from Madagascar.
Yeah, yep. They're about
nice.
8 inches long, green with red spots on their back. I just love them.
Yeah, they're nice. Yeah, I love those when they have like a blue spots on the back too.
Yep. Those are other species. Well, there's a lot of different species of day geckos, and some of them have blue on them too. Yeah, I love all day geckos. Like
I used to have one day gecko, but it was a girl. She was hide almost all the time. I have never seen her ever, so I just get rid of. And
okay.
It was just not for me.
Are they more of like a display animal, or are they quite
after
a while?
Yeah, they're a display. The problem is they like to poop down the front of their tank all the time. So, and I feel like they're trying to do that to hide themselves from view, because you can't, like, if you let it go long enough, you can barely see through the glass of the tank, but so they do take a little work to keep their display cage looking good. But I mean, there aren't too many other lizards in general or geckos that make better displays than giant day geckos or any of the day geckos, because they just look they're just such beautiful, vibrant animals. And they're day geckos, so they don't hide. They're not like a tokay gecko or a flying gecko or something that's going to be hiding all day long. They're just out in the open all the time. At least all of mine are. So I really like them a lot. And they kind of remind me of where I started from. So I kind of always want to have at least a pair or 2 pairs of them. I don't really try to breed them too much anymore, but I do love them. So, I got into doing this reptile business because I love reptiles. I mean, if I won the lottery and never had to work a day in my life again, I'm sure I'd still have plenty of reptiles, and I'd probably still be breeding ball pythons. I just I wouldn't have as many as I have right now, because I work more hours than what I'd really like right now, but it's all in the quest to produce the types of ball pythons that I want, and so at least if with working as much as I do, at least it's something that I absolutely love to do. So it makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We all appreciate it for sure, because man, like I said, I've been watching all your videos, and just I've always loved the dedication you've put towards like certain projects. Just put it out there, like genetic stripe, for example.
Yeah.
Like I've always loved the dedication you've had towards a project, and you're never willing just to let it go.
No.
No,
if I like that. I breed the morphs that I like. I always tell people you have to work. People ask me all the time, well, what morph should I get into? And I'm like, well, what do you like? You have to work with what you like. If you're not passionate about it, and you just have it just to make money on it, that's not for me. Like I'd say like part of my collection is based on making stuff that I know people want to buy. Blue-eyed leucistics, albinos, regular pies, stuff like that. Yeah. But a lot of my collection is based on just making what I want to make, because I want to see what I envision what some of these things are going to look like in my head, but I want to see what they actually look like. So, a lot of my projects are based around what I like and what I think that other people will like too. Sometimes I produce stuff, I go through, 5-6 years, 2 or 3 generations to make something, and then it doesn't come out to be as nice as I thought. But other times it's awesome. And so that's the big quest, is to try to make, the perfect ball python, which is impossible, but you're always striving towards it.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. And there is the only like one combo that Garrick really inspired me is a G-stripe leopard.
Oh, okay.
I've seen one. I think you uploaded the video back in 2017 or 18. I can't remember exactly the year, but I was just blown away. Like
yes,
it's insane. So and after that,
orange too, like
yeah.
I've done orange dream leopard genetic stripes, and then pastel leopard genetic stripes, a pastel banana leopard genetic stripe. And I actually just got a clutch from my breeder male leopard genetic stripe bred to banana genetic stripe, so I'll be able to see what the banana leopard stripe without pastel looks like. So I've got a lot of plans for leopard genetic. The thing is with any base gene, it's just a matter of figuring out what other genes out there can you add to it to make the best version of it. And like I like genetic stripes in general, but I've always wanted those thick black bands, stripes down either side of the back, and the leopard did that for me. And now it's just a matter of figuring out what kind of colors can I add to that. I want to make a bright orange with dark black stripes down the back. or like bananas, and albinos. I'm working on the albino leopard genetic stripe. I should be, I won't do that this season, but in 2022, I should be able to make a couple clutches of those. So yeah, I just think, adding in different colors to that pattern is going to be awesome. So I'm working on it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Maybe I'll put this question up here.
Yeah, the next question.
Talking about, so which dead end gene do you think has potential to make a comeback? I know most, it's kind of up to the beauties of the eye of the beholder and everything like that. But if you think that a gene might be dead to others, which gene do you think has potential?
It's really tough because I don't really ever look at genes as dead ends. There's projects that you can't do anything further with, like a solid white blue-eyed leucistic or black-eyed leucistic. You really can't do anything to that snake. So it's a project that stalls where it is, and luckily in a lot of those projects, where it stalls is where people like what people like. But I don't, as far as a dead end gene, I mean, there's been a lot of like little genes that spot nose and red stripe, a lot of those genes where, when they first came out, it's like, well, yeah, but it doesn't look that much different from a normal. I mean, I actually missed the boat on a lot of those projects because I'm like, why would I want to produce a spot nose? They're nice looking, but they're not like, wow, like where you can instantly, like if the average person can't tell that it's not a normal, I didn't want to work with it in the past. Not really thinking about, well, maybe if I plug that into the right other project, it would work. So I don't know what a dead end gene. I guess I'm really not thinking. Champagne, that's maybe bamboo to some extent is a gene that is so bamboo and champagne. The one thing they have in common is they're both so overpowering to anything that you put to them. So then it's just a matter of figuring out what gene. So I think like with champagne, leopard champagnes are pretty awesome.
Yes.
And if so, start throwing in like an orange dream leopard, NG champagne, yellow belly, something like that. That has real potential. And so, I'm always thinking about stuff like that. Like I don't ever look at a gene and think that dead end never comes into my vocabulary with any gene, because I always think that there's something that can be done with any gene to make it really come out nice. So, and a lot of those more subtle genes, I don't have in my collection. Like I don't have, Nanny or Huffman. I don't have a lot of those genes because I just wasn't, back when those first came out, I wasn't interested in getting projects that didn't make me say, wow, so I don't really have a lot of them. But I wish I would have gotten into some of them because they're really coming out with some nice combos now. But, there are so many ball python morphs out there that one person can't really have every project. At one point, that was my goal, is to have everything. But, that's just silly. There's so many different genes and combos. You can't do it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm glad you said that about the champagne, because I've just always been a fan of champagne, but I've just heard so many people. I mean, I feel like it's come back a bit now, and I know a lot of people are liking the clown champagne kind of stuff. And but it was actually most of your videos is watching the Enchi leopard champagne combos and then OD inside of it too. And it
OD champagne is nice. OD champagne is really cool.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that, like you said, like every gene has the potential. We just have to find the right combo for it. And, so that's good. It's refreshing to hear, I guess.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, we'll grab another one here.
Let's go. What were some of your favorite holdbacks that come to mind from 2020? And if you have a favorite, where do you plan on taking it?
Let's you said these questions were going to be easy. You're really making me think here.
I thought this would be 2012. There's so many, but
yeah, I mean, so as everybody knows, because I say it all the time, I'm a snake hoarder. I hold back way, way, way too many snakes every year. In 2020, I think I held back right around 200. So to be able to remember them and to actually figure out like which ones are my favorites, I can list off a few though. I was able to make a banana genetic stripe clown and a pastel banana genetic stripe clown. And actually this year I've got, I think all but 2 of my double het females have laid this year. So I should have like 7, probably 6 or 7 clutches of genetic stripe clowns this year, but I'm not doing a visual to double hets. I'm doing double het to double het. Or I've got a clown that's got some other genes in it that's possible het for stripe or bred. 2 of those to each do a double het. So I really like the genetic stripe clown project. So those 2 males I produced are some of my favorites.
Another one is a ultramel clown you produced.
Yes. Yeah, the pastel ultramel clowns. I produced a few of those last year.
That is insane.
I actually just got. I got my male that I produced last year. My visual double recessive male he didn't make it to breeding size this year. He got close, but he just wasn't quite ready. So I ended up doing pastel double het to pastel double het again, and I have 2 males and 3 females. And the first female just laid a clutch of 6 eggs today, and I've got 2 more females that are both gravid too. But it's still double het to double het breeding for this year. Next year I'll be doing a visual to double het. So next year I'll be able to produce a lot more ultramel clowns, but it should hit on a couple this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Another one that I really like, I'm starting to do some mahogany pied stuff. I produced a couple of coral glow mahogany pieds last year, so I got 1 male that I held back. So I'm liking that one quite a bit. Produced some pretty cool Krypton stuff. I'm trying to think of what types offhand. I can't even think right now which types I actually produced. But yeah, I mean, when you have so many holdbacks, it's really hard to pin it down.
200 holdbacks.
Actually, I should have done this at my shop in the holdback area, because then I could have just looked behind me and I really like this one. I could have showed them all.
We knew it was a loaded question. We just figured might as well hear a couple, and I'm sure it must be hard just even trying to remember them offhand like
one that I just thought of that I really like. I've got a black pastel GHI clown male that I kept. Wow. And that's a really cool, really dark snake. And I really like him a lot. Like, I'm hoping to do like a super GHI version of him, or maybe throw like mahogany, or I'm just mixing all the dark genes into clown and pied. Both of those projects, I'm really trying to like stack dark genes in there just to see how dark. I want to try to make, more black and white pieds. I did produce some panda pieds last season, and I've got some gravid female black pastel pieds right now some of them were bred to GHI pied, some of them were bred with black pastel. So I'm just trying to throw in as many different dark genes into the pieds and clowns as I can to see how dark I can get them and still keep some cool patterns too.
Okay, and I know you are working with Bango gene also, so Bango clown. So what direction are you planning to put the Bango clown? Like, what do you think can make something unique,
Yeah, well, last year I produced a pastel bongo clown, super pastel bongo clown, and a normal bongo clown. And I held back only the normal bongo clown. They were all, I thought that the bongo clown was a male, and actually he got up to about 400 grams, and I decided to sex him just to see how he's going. And I'm like, oh crap, it's a female. I somehow missexed the snake. So I thought I was raising up a normal bongo clown male, and luckily right around the same time I actually hatched out another clutch of bongo clowns, and I had only 2 in the clutch. There was a pastel bongo clown male and a killer or bongo killer clown male. So I held back the pastel because I like pastel in bongo clowns, but I don't want all of them to have pastel. Mm-hmm. So I kept the pastel bongo clown back. And I've got and he's young yet. He's maybe like 125, 130 grams right now, but he'll be ready for this for the 2022 season. So this year for my breeders, I'm breeding a pastel bongo clown. A pastel bongo het clown male to various females. And so I'm hoping to get some clutches with some other genes other than just pastel in there. I should be able to hit on some lesser bongo clowns, which I think is going to be cool. If you look at what a lesser bongo clown or what a regular lesser bongo looks like, it's
I do have a lesser. I do have a lesser bongo het clown.
Okay.
It's nice, really nice.
That's cool. So I'm thinking that the visual clown is going to be really nice with that. And I know I bred him to a few different females, so hopefully I'll hit on some more bongo clown combos this year. So I really like the normal bongo clown is a really cool looking snake, really and cool, I want to go two different directions. I want to start adding some different colors to it, like Orange Dream, but I also want to start adding in some other darker genes to it as well, and see what kind of things I can pull out in the pattern, because it does. Compared to other clown combos, it does have a unique pattern to it. You know, there's nothing else that quite looks the same. So I'm really thinking there's a lot of potential. Oh, I know. I've got I bred the pastel bongo het clown. I have a clutch from him bred to an Enchi yellow belly clown. Wow. So I can get some yellow belly bongo clowns, Enchi bongo, some pretty cool stuff. So, but that project is literally just kind of getting off the ground right now. So it'll be interesting next 2 years.
Yeah. So the thing I want to say, Garrick, just wait for me. I will go into your place and picking up some bongo clown stuff, because I'm really interested about this project, and I like it. I mean, like you said, just the regular bongo clown looks really nice. It's unique, and. So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. Yeah. I mean, you're not all that far away. You could definitely make a trip up here, like a day trip or an overnight or something.
Okay,
bongo clowns are, and another one I wanted to mention. I can't remember if it was a 2020 or not, but the yellow belly spot nose calico clown.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
That thing was just.
That's the highlight. That's your highlight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Actually, that doesn't. I have a pastel yellow belly calico clown. Doesn't have spot nose in it.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Yeah, I'm actually working. I have a female spot nose het clown that I actually bred him to this year, and I don't think she's gonna lay any time real soon. I don't know. I have 2 spot nose het clown females. That's actually how I got into the spot nose clowns a few years ago. I did a trade, and I got a couple of spot nose het clown females. And I raised those up, and I've been using those to make all my spot nose clown stuff. So I know I've got him, that pastel calico yellow belly clown. He was bred to a spot nose het clown, so hopefully I can get some with spot nose in it, because that male, I mean, just with pastel calico and yellow belly and clown in it, he is incredible. And he's probably like 900 grams right now. I mean, he's been breeding for a while. And but he is still super intense bright yellow, like he's highlight marker yellow. And if that's the way a pastel calico yellow belly clown is going to look, I want to make a lot of those, because I love that snake. That was a 2019, I think, and that's the snake that I think that was my favorite pullback from 2019. I love that snake.
It was amazing. I love that. Like Calico really put good work into a pastel clown, basically, and obviously yellow belly helped a lot, but
yellow belly helps a lot with that. They look a lot better if they have yellow belly in it too.
And Orange Dream.
Yeah. I'm working on all that right now.
Yeah. Orange Dream, fire, yellow belly with the calico works like perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have a question about from Apes Exotic Reptiles.
Yeah. Okay. Let me put it up here.
Yep.
Is it the breeding temps one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put it up.
Okay.
So, do you drop temps in the full in the room? Do you adjust the rack heat tape temps? If you do drop room temps, when do you kick the heat back up?
Okay. Well, it's really easy to get seasonal temperature gradients up here in Wisconsin, because it is cold up here in winter and warm in summer. So, basically, I don't touch the thermostats on my racks. I leave them the same all the time. I have my hot spot set for right around 88 to 90. When you have so many racks, you're not going to get the temperatures exact on all of them. Even within a rack, the lower levels may be cooler than the upper levels. So I just basically have my hot spot set to be right around 90 degrees during the day and right around 85 at night. So only about a 5-degree drop. Well, actually, I think maybe a 6 or 7 degree drop at night. Now that I'm thinking about it, that just shows you how infrequently I actually look at my thermostats. I don't even know what I have them set for. But I think I've actually got like a 7-degree drop at night now that I think about it on my breeders. My hatchlings, I only do like a 3 or 4-degree drop at night. But so the main thing is in the summertime, my room temperature is about, I would say, 82 to 83 during the day and about 77 to 78 at night. And then my hot spots are roughly 90 degrees during the day and in the lower 80s at night. So in the fall, I kind of let the room cool down a little bit more, mostly at night, but fall and winter and early spring, my room temperatures are about 80 degrees during the day. So only a 3 or 4, maybe 3-degree drop from summer. And at nighttime, they drop down to about 75, which is, only a few degrees cooler. But 75 is kind of the low threshold for my temperatures that I ever let my ball pythons get to. So basically, just that slight drop of the room, 2 or 3 degrees during the day, maybe 3, 4 degrees at night at the most. That's really all I do. And I start pairing my breeders in usually like mid-December. I'll start pairing them up, and I'll start getting eggs. This year, my clutches kind of came a little slower. Normally, I get more clutches in March than what I had, but it seemed like once the clutches started coming, like I went from having a dozen clutches to having 100 clutches in like 5 weeks or something. I mean, they're coming every day now. So I've got it, pretty good. I mean, most of the time I do have clutches incubating at any time of the year. All of my incubators will always have at least a clutch or two in there. But this year I actually went probably 3 months without a single clutch incubating. So it was a little strange, but
wow.
And every year, I kind of get a little nervous during the breeding season. Like, well, what if things don't go well and I don't get good production? And I don't know why I think that, because I'm feeding my snakes really well. I take good care of them. I'm doing the same thing. Like I don't change anything with my ball python. My procedures of how I breed ball pythons now, I feel like I've got it dialed in enough. I'm not messing with it, because the last time I did that, I actually produced a bunch of slugs, and it was just a mess. And I don't change anything now. And what I'm doing seems to be working really well.
Yeah, that's the way to go, right? If it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah. So basically, I don't adjust my rack temperatures, but my room temperatures do dip down, and that's what kind of changes the season for the breeders.
Nice. I'm just gonna put up this other question quick too.
Nice information right here.
For any big plans for albino clowns?
That's a good question, actually. I
just put the Mac back. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
No. So I actually just got another clutch from the Albino Clown Project today. I think it was 7 eggs from Tofino Enchi clown bred to a clown het albino. So I got 2 clutches of those this year. But for as far as like other genes I'm adding in, because the albino clown, I look at that's like, they're cool looking when they first hatch. They're really bright white, really dark yellow. But the yellow bleeds into the white as they get bigger, and they just kind of wash out. Because if you look at a normal clown, it's a brown on brown snake. Different shades of brown. So the brown becomes yellow in albinos. So you end up with a yellow on yellow albino, which isn't. I mean, some albino clowns are kind of so faded you can barely even tell they're a clown. But what I'm thinking is add the right gene to it, and you're gonna be able to turn that contrast back up. So I should, hopefully I'll produce leopard albino clowns this year, which should bring that contrast back, because a leopard clown's back stripe is a lot darker than a normal clown's. So I'm hoping that leads to a nice white stripe down the albino clown's back. And then I've already put the toffee gene into it in the form of a toffino. I don't have any pure toffee clowns yet, but hopefully those are coming at some point. So toffee, enchi, and leopard so far. And then this year, I actually bred a lesser leopard clown to an albino clown. I don't really know if I'm gonna get, if the lesser is really gonna help with the contrast. Probably not, but in the past, I had produced leopard clown het albinos, but for some reason, I had 2 or 3 clutches of them, and every one came out female. And it's like, okay, I need a male, but I do have a pastel leopard clown het albino that I'm breeding to an albino clown this year. And then the other one that I'm working on, I bred GHI into albino clown last year. So I've got a male GHI clown het albino that I'll be breeding to albino clowns this upcoming season. And then this year I bred a pastel GHI spot nose clown to an albino clown. So I wanted that spot nose in there too, because then eventually I can make spot nose albino or spot nose albino clown, spot nose Batman albino clowns. The spot nose gives you such a dark, like black pattern on the albino clown. So I think, well, that's going to be the best one to really give you a high contrast albino clown. So that's what I'm doing. So hopefully this year I'll be blessed with a nice spot nose clown male that's het albino. And then I've got a bunch of albino clown females. I think I've got probably 10 of them breeders. So nice. I mean, I've got the females ready to plug those males in. I just need to get the males and get them grown up. So yeah, I think there's like I was saying earlier, there's potential with any morph, and I think that getting those right genes into that albino clown project is going to make that project really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are some great genes, especially the GHI and spot nose and leopard.
Yep.
Like, all great choices, obviously.
The lavender albino clown, I'm doing that with as well. I bred a clown het lavender to a black pastel lavender, and also a GHI lavender and a GHI mystic lavender. So I got one clutch so far. Hopefully I'll get a couple more. So I think, getting that black pastel gene and the GHI gene into the lavender clown will help with the contrast on that animal too.
Nice
plans here.
Holy.
Hopefully that someone can find the right gene for bamboo, so it can change a little bit the patterns and the colors, because bamboo is just super over.
I've made super orange dream bamboo combos. Those are pretty nice. The colors really brighten up a lot. So, I think that the orange dream or super orange dream into bamboo really helps. Enchi helps as well. Yellow belly is pretty good in it. I think bamboo will take some work to really get a really, outstanding looking bamboo. But I think just the normal bamboo. I remember seeing pictures from Europe when those things weren't even in the U.S. yet. I remember thinking like, wow, that is really cool, because that's both a color mutation and a pattern mutation. And I thought, well, there's got to be some cool things you can do with that. And so far, it's been a little challenge to figure out what the best things to do with it is, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Did you produced a leopard bamboo clown? Did you not, Garrick?
Yeah, yep, I do.
Yeah, those are nice. I like that. That's the stripe.
Mine has pastel in it too, I'm pretty sure. So it's a pretty light snake, but I'm hoping to make some without pastel in it this upcoming season too.
Nice. Yeah, that was a really cool one. So I was wondering how it aged, but I guess with the pastel, it's kind of hard to see if without pastel, if it'll age a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a cool looking snake, but when it first hatched, I produced so few bamboo clowns at that point, I wasn't 100% sure what I even had there. But looking at it as it grows, she's been a little bit of a finicky feeder. She went off feed for, 5 or 6 months, but she's eating really good now again. But she's probably only, I'd say, 800, 900 grams. And she's a couple of years old now. So, she's a little behind schedule, but I'll get her there.
Nice. All right, well, we'll pop up another question here. Let's put this one. Is there a project you wish you would have bought to earlier than you did?
Lots of them. I'm not made of money, so I couldn't buy into every project when they first came out. The one that I didn't really realize the potential of, I would say, is the Desert Ghost. I didn't get into Desert Ghost. I finally bought just a normal Desert Ghost male. That's probably been 5 years now, but I bought him to breed him to some of my multi-codon females just to get some hets, and then start making Desert Ghost stuff from there, because I kind of missed them back when they were expensive. I just didn't. I don't know, for some reason it was just one of those morphs that I didn't really see the potential of. And now you look at some of these Desert Ghost project animals out there, and it's like just blow your mind, and they're just so clean and bright and just awesome. So I really wish I would have gotten into Desert Ghost earlier. I'm going to try to make up for lost time, though. I've got a pastel clown het desert ghost, and I have a Krypton het desert ghost here, and a few other just like single codon het desert ghost females, and I'm breeding that clown pastel clown het desert ghost to all these females to hopefully get desert ghost combos that are het for clown. So, you know, I might even be able to hit a desert ghost clown this season yet, but
nice.
I'm definitely going to have some good breeding stock growing up for the future though. So I love desert ghosts, and it's so frustrating that I put money into some projects and not into others, but I wish I would have gotten into desert ghosts sooner.
Yeah.
Axanthics too. Axanthics back. I used to produce Axanthics. My daughter just said she wanted to go play with one of her friends. The Axanthic gene too. That's one that I'm not real heavy into right now. I had the Jollop Axanthic. I had a very small number of Snakekeeper Axanthics and VPI. And back when I was making them, for some reason they just didn't sell. I had such a hard time. So I decided I'm gonna get out of Axanthics entirely because I need this rack space for something else. And I did. And then like as soon as I got rid of them, then all of a sudden people started asking me for Axanthics all the time. And I spent years telling myself, okay, I need to get a really nice line of Axanthic and start working on them and be able and start making these things again. And every time I would go to a show, I think about, you know, picking up like a nice VPI Axanthic male, and I just wanted to breed him into some of my stuff and make some really cool hats and then raise those up. And for some reason, I just could not get myself to just go and buy like a $200 snake and breed it to my $1,000 plus females. I couldn't do it. I always thought about it, and then I just get too busy at a show or whatever, and I just didn't do it. And then finally I decided, okay, I have to do this. I have so many people looking for Axanthics. I have to get back into Axanthics. So I bought an Axanthic Pied from Gateway City Reptiles. He's got his own line of Axanthic in Pied, and it's a really, really pretty line of Axanthics. So I figured if I'm going to get back into Axanthics, I want to give it more punch than just Axanthics. So let's get Pied in that too. So now I'm breeding my Axanthic Pied male to various females and producing some really cool hats. And I'm raising those up. And I actually just got a clutch this year. I bred that Axanthic Pied male I bred to a killer clown pied. And I got a very small clutch, but I got 1.2 pastel pieds that are double head Axanthic clown. So that in the future is going to be wild. You know, I'm really looking forward to that one.
That's cool. Do you have any puzzle?
I don't know. That was another one that for some reason I just never bought into it. I don't know. You know, I've been producing Kryptons for a long time, and Kryptons are kind of similar looking to puzzles. Yeah. So I guess I kind of at the time I was thinking, and at the time I didn't know what I had. You know, back before Krypton was even a thing, I was hatching these weird things out in my collection, and so I didn't know. I thought maybe there was a possibility that these were puzzles or something. But I knew they looked similar, so I just decided to focus on that instead of getting into a whole nother project. I try not to have too much in my collection that looks the same. You know, like I don't think I'd ever work with like 3 different lines of Axanthic because they're all kind of similar. Or you know, well, like Lesser and Butter. You know, it's basically the same thing. I do have both of those in my collection, but I'm trying to have projects where everything looks very different from each other, just to save space, basically. Like Phantom and Mystic. You know, I've had obviously many chances to get Phantom into my collection, but I already have Mystic, and in my opinion, if it's not the same thing, it's very, very similar enough that it doesn't pay for me to fill my racks with both Phantoms and Mystic and just make it more confusing for myself to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yep.
Well, talking about the Axanthic Pied Clown, I guess we'll just go. Nazar, if you want to ask this one.
Given if you have the option, do you think it's better to produce more double visuals or work towards quad heads?
I mean, if you have enough space in your collection, do both, I think. You know, right now, there's been a lot of double recessive projects that have been produced over the past few years. You know, albino pies, dreamsicles, Axanthic pies, Axanthic clowns. You know, all these different double recessives. And I think that those are some of the most, no matter what it is, when you put two recessives together, it almost always results in one of the most impressive ball python morphs that are out there. So working towards quad hets, I bred a pastel clown pied to hypo ultramel. I bred that pair last year, and I'm trying it again this year. She just isn't producing for me very well. And I think it'd be fun to have, some like a group of, hopefully like a male and 4 female quad hets or something, just to see what comes out. Because the more recessive genes you get in there, who knows? You might not hit on the quad, but you'll probably hit on a lot of doubles and maybe a triple every now and then. And if you get really lucky, maybe a quad one day. If you breed the same group together for 10 years in a row, you might get lucky enough. So I think, yeah, it's, if you want to go for that lottery ticket and go for that quad het, it's definitely not a bad strategy, but you're going to have a lot of frustrating clutches. Unless you get super lucky, you're going to have a lot of frustration trying to, if you're really, if that's your goal is to try to produce the quad, it's going to take a while. I can't even remember offhand what the odds are, but it's going to take you a while. So I'm really working on making a lot of double recessive. I've held back a lot of like dreamsicle females last year. I'm finally at the point now where I'm producing quite a few of them. So I think I held back, I don't know, 5 or 6 dreamsicle females last year. I held back 3 or 4 the year before. So I'm trying to get a big group of those going. Same with albino pieds. I hold back, more than a few albino pieds every year. And all of the double recessives, I try to hold back, obviously a male is the most important one to hold back, but I also like females too, because like I held back a pastel ultramel clown last year, a female and a male. And I probably will use that female to breed into something else that's like maybe an Xantha clown by then. I don't know. I have to think about it, but I probably won't use that female double visual just to make more double visuals. I'll probably use her to make the next generation, the next step in the evolution of that project.
Right. Yeah, just keep pushing it forward.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man. All right.
Yeah, I do have a dreamsicle class 2. I have a 1 in 16 chance, so.
Okay. Well, when I first started the dreamsicle project, I bred a lavender albino to a pied. This is probably 10 years ago now, and I produced 4 male and 1 female double hets. Like almost the worst odds that I could have dreamed of, because if it would have been the opposite, that would have been great. 1 male and 4 females, that would have been fantastic. But so anyway, I sold 3 out of the 4 males. I kept the pair. Bred them, raised them up. I think it took 4 years until they actually produced. The first year, I got like 6 normals and 1 pied in the clutch.
Oh,
so it's like, this is going to take me forever to hit on a dreamsicle. Well, the second year, I did the same pairing with the same, the exact same pair, and I hit on 2.1 dreamsicles and a female pied possible het lavender. So then I had the decision, dreamsicles were still they're expensive now, but they were a lot more expensive, 6 years ago or whenever that, or 5 years ago. So, but I decided I'm going to keep the female because I can use her to do something else with that project in the future. And then I decided, instead of selling one of the males and keeping one of them, that I wanted to keep both males, because the one that I keep would inevitably be a poor feeder or something, and it would take me an extra year. Well, it turned out that all 3 of them were just fantastic feeders. The female is huge now. She has not produced for me yet, and she's had, I think this is her 3rd season I've been trying to breed her. She has not produced for me yet, so she's been a little frustrating. But the 2 males breed anything and everything, and I've got a large group of double het females. I've got pied het lavenders, lavender het pieds. So and because I kept both of those, that's why I'm able to produce so many dreamsicles now. So it was really great, but it was hard to not sell one of those males initially, because at the time they were probably $5,000 or $6,000 a piece. That could pay a few bills. So it would have been nice to sell one, but I'm really glad that I held them back.
That's a good story, just to show people how important males still are to hold back. Yeah. Like, you always hear females, but
yeah. And do you have like a backup males for the project you wanna?
I try to keep, if I can, I try to keep a backup male if I have one available. Like with the genetic stripe clowns, I kept a pastel banana genetic stripe clown male, and I kept a regular banana genetic stripe clown male, and I could have easily sold either one of those many times over since they hatched. But I kept them both because I think I have like 7 or 8 double het females that each have some other genes in them, and I didn't want to rely on only one male for that project. And it was a good thing too, because my regular banana genetic stripe clown male actually he was a terrible feeder for the first probably 8 months of his life. He didn't hardly eat anything. He's eating awesome now, so I'm glad that I kept him. But I'm glad that, but I kept the one with pastel in it as well as a backup, because if I would have only kept the regular banana, who knows? I mean, maybe that snake wouldn't have started feeding at some point, and I wouldn't have a visual male that I can breed all those double het females next year. So yeah, I'm like I said, I hold back way too many snakes every year, but a lot of that is because I feel there's safety in that. You don't want to rely on one male to do all your dreams can come true with that one male if everything goes right, but you want to have something as a backup just in case that one male doesn't cooperate.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense.
What's kind of happened to me, so it's a nice lesson.
It sucks when it happens. That's why it is nice to have that backup male, even if it's not exactly the same male, but something that's similar in towards that project you want to work on. And you were speaking about rats, so I know Nazar had a question about rats as well, if you want to go, Nazar.
Yeah, so do you have a preferred rodent you like to feed your snakes? And if so, what's your opinion on ASFs versus rats in terms of nutrition of ball pythons specifically? Because what I heard that the ASF, they are like a natural food for ball pythons. Mm-hmm. And the rats more fat, it's not good for a snake. The ball python have a better a body shape. With the ASF, they are pooping less, and the ASF require less food, and ASF way better for ball pythons. And the people who feed only with ASF their snakes have a better a production, the success,
Yeah.
So,
what do you think? I've only recently started ASF. So we do breed some of our own rodents here. We produce most of the mice that we need. We produce some of the rats for our holdback juveniles and stuff. We produce enough rats. We don't produce enough to feed our collection entirely, but we did start breeding ASFs a couple of years ago too. And so we have one freedom breeder rack full of ASFs now, and they produce really well. And I think they're a great source of food for ball pythons. The nice thing is a jumbo-sized ASF, like a retired breeder ASF, is about the perfect size for an adult female ball python.
They close to. It's really it's a big. It's really nice. Big.
Yeah. Overall, I'm all for feeding a ball python whatever they want to eat. Some of my breeder females only eat mice. And you got to feed them a lot of mice, but they only eat mice. And some of them will only eat ASFs, and some of them will eat rats. My breeders that eat rats, fine, I feed them rats. But if I have a breeder that's resisting rats, I'll feed them ASFs. I probably have probably 10 or probably closer to 15 breeder females that only eat ASFs. And since I'm producing them, I don't care. I wish that they were actually more readily available for the average, pet keeper for ball pythons, because I do think they probably, I don't know anything scientifically about the nutritional value one versus the other, but I do think that if I had a choice, I probably would feed all ASFs to my breeders for sure. The main reason why I don't is, well, first of all, I would have to produce a lot more ASFs because there's no way that I can buy the quantity that I use with my collection. But the other thing is that eventually most of my breeders end up getting sold and getting replaced with the next generation or better breeders. So I'm constantly tweaking and adjusting my collection to make it produce better stuff for the stuff that I want to produce. So every year I'm forced to make hard decisions and sell some of my breeder males and females. And if they're all eating ASFs, that might limit the number of customers that would be willing to buy those breeders because they may not be able to get ASFs the way I can.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I also noticed, I do think that when a ball python wants to eat, most of them will eat just about anything. Like my breeders, I can, if I ever want to, I can offer them, a lot of them will eat like a frozen thawed rat, you know, and then the next week they'll eat a live ASF or whatever. I mean, the ball pythons can definitely be picky, but I think that when they're hungry, like especially females after they lay, like I have some females here that most of the year will only eat ASFs, but for like the first like 4 or 5 meals after they lay, they will eat anything. You could throw a small or medium rat in there and they'll eat those. And then eventually, once they get that initial, you know, great hunger out of their system from laying that clutch and being so thin, then all of a sudden they get more finicky again, and they want their ASFs or they want nothing. So I've got a big killer clown female here that actually just laid a clutch. She was bred to, I think, a pewter clown, but she's like that. She'll eat rats for the first like 3 or 4 feedings after she lays a clutch, and then after that it's back onto ASFs, and she'll eat ASFs one, you know, she'll take down like one bigger ASF a week, and that's it. I know some people just stuff their ball pythons with food all the time, but I like to feed mine more moderately. You know, I feed them all once a week, whether they're hatchlings, breeders, whatever. My breeder males, I feed one small rat every other week too. My females, I try to offer them one small, or like with my biggest females, I'll give them a medium rat or whatever else, the ASF or whatever else they're eating, but once a week. And even my holdbacks, like my hatchlings and juveniles I'm growing up, only a few of them will I feed more than once a week. I don't think personally that it's a good idea for a snake in general, not necessarily ball pythons or any snake, to be in a constant state of digesting food. To me, that just doesn't, I know that there's some health implications with that. And ball pythons are better at that than most snakes, like boa constrictors and green tree pythons. If you have them stuffed with food all the time, they will have major issues. Ball pythons are pretty resistant to that, but I still don't think it's the best thing for them. So my snakes maybe don't grow quite as fast as they could. You know, like some people get their hatchlings up to, you know, 1,000 grams in 9 months or whatever, and that's not me. Like I don't think that's the healthiest thing long term for snakes. And plus, I don't have time to feed my snakes that often.
Like if you feed your babies twice a week, you know, you have a lot of babies. That's
yeah. This year with my babies, you know, we're probably a month away from entering the heavy hatching season. So this year I'm going to try to feed the newest hatchlings 2 small meals a week for a month, and get them ready to sell as quickly as I can, because I'm gonna try to get them up for sale a lot quicker. Most years during the breeding season, I'm so busy just dealing with the volume of eggs and volume of babies, I run out of time. I don't have time to take pictures of them. So this year we've got a system down where I think we're gonna try to as soon as the snakes are ready to sell, we're gonna get pictures of them and get them on the website. So that's the plan. Now, I'm sure at some point I'm going to get overwhelmed with babies and I'm not going to be able to keep up with that, but I'm going to try to keep up as much as I can, and, you know, feed them twice a week for the first month, and then they'll be basically ready to sell. You know, I think that a ball python needs 6 to 8 meals before it is going to sell. And most of the time I want the last meal before I put them up for sale to be a frozen thawed meal, just so that my customers, you know, a lot of them want to feed them frozen thawed. So I prefer to get them to that point. And usually after, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 meals, most ball pythons will take a frozen thawed crawler or hopper mouse really easily, and then it's just transitioning them to the rats after that.
Okay, so how many mice you put to your, for example, like 2,000 gram female?
Well, that's the hardest thing with mice, is that, you know, a 2,000 gram female is probably going to need, you know, to really get good body weight, probably going to need at least a half a dozen like jumbo-sized mice a week. But when you have a big collection, like if you have a small collection, you can keep up with that pretty easily. With a big collection like mine, where I've got, I have 600 plus breeder females, it's hard to remember to go and feed that female an extra meal, So the ones that only eat mice, I probably don't feed as often as I should, and they're probably not quite as consistent of breeders as they could be if I just remembered, like, every day pop a mouse in with her. Or feed her like 2 or 3 or 4 in a single day. Most of the time, I'll give them like 2 jumbo-sized mice or large mice, and then I kind of tend to just run out of time feeding stuff, and I don't get around to feeding her more. But some of those snakes, I would say for a 2,000-gram female, well, first of all, most females that are that big are not mouse eaters because they got that big because they eat rats. Most of my mouse eaters are more like, I would say, 1,350 to maybe 1,700 grams. So it doesn't take quite as many rodents to fill them up and to give them enough calories to gain weight. So, a 1,500 gram female, I would say maybe like 3 jumbo mice would be about right.
That's what I want to know. Because I have some mousers and it's kind of pain in the ass.
It's a pain, yeah. It'd be nice if they just all ate the same thing and they all ate once a week, every week. But I have customers all the time like, oh, my snake hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. What's wrong with it? It's like, well, it's a ball python being a ball python.
Yep.
That's it. That's what they're
famous for. It's a ball python. Sometimes the customer have like a bad conditions for the snake. When you put it in the tank, and then there's a bunch of things
not heated properly. So they're stressed out because they're in a glass enclosure and they've been raised in a rack before that. Yeah, it's a lot of. Ball pythons. There's a complete list of reasons why they don't want to eat. And
that's for sure.
So I just try to make people aware of the reasons why they don't want to eat. And then sometimes if you have like a 500 gram male or a 900 gram female that goes off feed for a few months, as long as she's healthy and the conditions in the cage haven't changed or anything, mostly it's just waiting it out. And just offer them a meal every week or 2 weeks, and sooner or later they'll get hungry and start eating again. It's just frustrating when they get 75% up to breeding size and they take a 6-month vacation from eating. That's a little frustrating.
That's frustrating. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I always like that too. They always get it's like that point where they're so close and you've raised them this whole time, and then they take that break and it just kills you, man.
Yeah, especially when the project like really anticipated for you. You've been waiting for 3 years or 4 years for this female, and then she stopped eating for 8 months, and you're like, why are they doing this to us?
That's why the more snakes, the better. Like I have so many snakes that if I have animals that are behind schedule like that, I barely have time to even think about it. And I've got plenty of other irons in the fire. I've got a lot of other projects I'm working on anyway. So I don't dwell on things like that as much, mostly because I'm just too busy and I've got so many other options of breeding things going on here. So that's the one good thing about having a big collection is you don't have to obsess about a specific animal as much as you would if you only had 5 or 10 snakes, and you're counting on that one animal to do something, and he or she just doesn't. That would be hard.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've only had 10 ball pythons. Let me tell you.
Speaking of clutches, this is I think appropriate one for. So, what was the highest amount of clutches you produced in a single season, and did it feel overwhelming compared to the previous year?
Yes, it did. That was in 2016. I produced, I think it was somewhere around like 2,650 babies, I would say. And that was back like now, like a lot of my cheaper, more like my byproducts that I produce in my clutches, I will wholesale a lot of those out because I can't keep all the snakes that I produce at one time. I can hold about probably like right around 1,300 individual babies right now. And so at the time, I was still in the mode where I wanted to retail every single snake that I produced. And so I held on to all those babies, and it was crazy. Like my hatchling room was completely stuffed, and I keep that room well, at the time I had a hatchling room, and I kept that room warmer than I did my main room, so I could actually put snakes in plastic tubs and set them on a countertop too. And then, so at one point I had this countertop, like 8 foot long, like bench basically, that was stacked with like, I don't know, I probably had like 50 or 60 ball pythons out there, and then all my racks were completely full too. And I was seriously losing my mind trying to keep up with all of them. And I told myself never again would I do that many. And the next year I actually produced probably like 400 less snakes. It was just too much. And but yeah, I mean, it's always overwhelming. Like August, September, well, really even in July, August, September, even in October, it always gets overwhelming, and I just keep asking myself, like, why did you do this to yourself again? But I've had so many like bulk, like larger order sales over the past couple of years. I've started to export to other countries quite a bit. I send stuff to Thailand, South Korea, Japan.
We have a question about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I send a lot of snakes. So like, I have several regular buyers from various Asian countries, and they'll take anywhere from sometimes as few as like 10 or 12, but most of the largest order I ever had was, I think it was like 76 or 77 snakes went out at one time. So I mean, an order like that, I mean, that frees up an entire rack of hatchling space. So now that I've got orders like that coming in pretty regularly, I feel like if I produce more snakes, it's not necessarily gonna get too overwhelming, because I'm not. And also with this new strategy we're gonna try to do about retailing snakes and getting them on the website quicker, I think that the turnover will be faster, and it won't be like last year and the year before. I kind of like stockpiled snakes, like during the like I'm having 2,000 plus snakes hatch, and 75% of those are hatching in a 3 or 4 month period of time. So then during that period of time, you're pretty overwhelmed with them. It's just hard. Like it takes an entire day just to feed them all, and then takes another entire day to water and clean them all. So it gets really overwhelming. But I think the main thing is just making, keeping the sales up and getting them on the website and making people aware that I have these for sale. I think that's the main key with not getting too overwhelmed. But yeah, mid to late summer and into fall is definitely my busiest time of the year.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a next question about the shipping worldwide. So do you ship snakes? You said yes, and if it's a complicated process, you need the permits. It's expensive, like to ship it to Japan or Indonesia. So it's you have to have like a permits, right?
Well, I actually don't have the permits. I used to have CITES permits, and I did export a couple of shipments. But it's so hard for me because where I live, I don't have an international airport anywhere near me. So for me to export stuff myself, I know I used to ship. I had like a non-designated port permit, so I could ship to Minneapolis, and then the U.S. Fish and Wildlife would inspect it there, and then they would ship it to where it's got to go. But now I actually send all of my shipments to someone down in Florida who has all the permits, and he does regular shipping. It's Michael Cole from Ballroom Python South. I actually do my exporting through him. So he takes care of all the paper, all the permits and everything. Sometimes I have to fill out like breeder statements and stuff like that. But my process is mostly just FedExing them to him. And then the customer, the overseas customer, and him basically coordinate the export. So I've got a pretty good system down. I've worked with Michael with shipping for at least several years, probably closer to 10 years. But over the past 3 or 4, over the past couple of years anyway, I've shipped a lot of animals overseas through him, and he does charge for it. But it's still at the point where it's very worthwhile.
Easier, when he do all the work with the permits and papers. So yeah. But does he have a Instagram page? This guy, I just want to have him, in the case.
Yeah, I'm not even just do a search for Ballroom Python South, and you'll find him. It's Michael Cole. Michael's been in the business for a long time. He's a great guy to work with.
I found him, Michael Cole. I found him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That must be a nice relief to have someone like that, kind of with you and be able to export and stuff.
Yeah, we've had a really good relationship for years. I've been shipping through him for all my exports, and it's been working out really well. So, and the demand overseas is pretty high too. So, I probably shipped out. I know I've shipped out at least 300 snakes, probably closer to 400 snakes in the last 2 years to other countries. Nice. So it's worked out really well.
That's really cool.
So he can ship to any country, Europe.
I don't know what any country means. It all depends on the laws of the country that you want to ship to. But if it's legal to ship reptiles between the U.S. and whatever the country may be, he can do it. Okay. And there's other people that will do that same type of thing too. But I've just worked with Michael on most of my shipments, and it's worked out really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Garrick, for the info. It's helpful.
So we'll just we'll go through a couple more questions because we don't want to take up too much of your time, man. We know you stay busy and you want to have your weekend too because we know how hard you're working.
We were out we were out doing yard work in our gardens all morning and early afternoon. So this was kind of a nice break from that. I kind of was getting a little tired of it.
It's good.
So do you have any dinker projects that you've worked on in the past or that you're currently working on? You don't have to share any info on it, obviously, but if you are...
Oh, no, I'm an open book. I share everything, so that's not a problem. I've had some things and I still have a few individuals that, like I had a ball python that hatched out really with a lot of black pattern to it, a lot more than normal. And I bred that to another one that I have with also a lot of black pattern. Came out of a different project, but it had a lot of black pattern too. I bred those together, and I got a group of, again, like 3 males and 1 female out of the project, but they look relatively normal. I'm going to try to breed them 1 year and see if I get anything unusual out of it. I also produced something that looks pretty similar to a desert ghost in a collection. It hatched out randomly from I think it was like an orange dream fire bred to a black pastel or something like that. This is years ago. And I hatched out this really light colored normal ball python. And I bred that to something else. And I got, I bred it to a vanilla cream. And I produced some vanilla or fires that have this gene too. And they're like so much more intense than a normal vanilla or fire would be. And I bred those together last season, and I got some really, I produced some vanilla creams that look like they would be like desert ghost vanilla creams. They're really intense. So this year I'm trying to breed a desert ghost male to the female and see if I can get anything, see if it's compatible. But it's a desert ghost looking type of thing, and I'm, like I said, I'm still trying to work out the details on that.
That's a recessive, right? You think it's a recessive?
I think so, but I don't know. It's still too early in the project. But the other dinker thing that I was working on was the Kryptons back before we knew that they were Kryptons. I bred a pastel clown to normal pinstripe. So I got a pinstripe male in trade for 2 Mojaves. This is probably back in 2008, I think. So I traded 2 Mojaves for a normal pinstripe, and back then, they were expensive snakes. So, and then I bred that normal pinstripe to some normals that I had here, and I kept back some of the pinstripe offspring. And one of them, a female, I decided to breed to this pastel clown male I just wanted some lemon blast hat clowns because that was back before pinstripe clowns had ever been produced. And so I hatched out this normal and this pastel in the clutch that were really weird looking. They looked like they kind of wanted to be clowns, but they weren't clowns, or they kind of really busy, crazy pattern. So I did the same pairing again the next year, and I produced several pinstripes and a lemon blast and I think a pastel that had this same look to it. I'm like, what is going on? So the third year, I bred a pastel banana to that same pinstripe because I just wanted to figure out the inheritability of this gene. And I produced a banana and a pastel banana with this crazy pattern to it too. So I'm like, okay, well, it's got to be like a dominant or something because I took this pastel banana and bred it to the same female. I still produced them. So I'm saying that this is a dominant thing, and I just held on to them, and I just kept holding them back, and I was making more of them and holding them back. And then, I started seeing like cryptic ball pythons. I'm like, well, mine looks really similar to that. I wonder if that's what I have. And it was just a matter of figuring out what I had here. And it turns out that the pastel banana that I had bred to that pinstripe female was a possible het clown. I didn't even think about this. Actually, this is just a few months ago. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's it. So and obviously it was het clown. So I was breeding a pastel banana het clown to a pinstripe het cryptic. Wow. And that's basically, so I still have that pinstripe, and she's het cryptic. And so that was a project. I mean, the first ones of those I produced was in 2013. And I didn't really start releasing stuff from that project until last year, because I was still trying to figure it all out. And now I'm producing all kinds of cool Krypton stuff. Like I actually have some really, really cool stuff coming out this year. But yeah, I mean, some of those projects, like sometimes I almost don't want to hit something like that I gotta work through, and it might lead to something, it might not lead to something, but it's a lot of work, and you start holding back all these babies, and pretty soon I got a whole rack full of these Kryptons, and I still don't even know what it is for sure. So I mean, now I know what it is, but at the time it's a lot. I mean, that's part of the reason why I have so many snakes that I've held back, is that when you have these projects that you need to prove out yet, it's the volume of animals. You don't want to sell them and then realize what you have later, and it's like, oh, I sold a bunch of them already. And so it's hard.
That must have been like, you could have landed on a more like kind of tricky thing to try and figure out than the whole cryptic thing too. I feel
I know
that must have been a headache.
It was hard.
Yeah, but after that, this feeling when you are producing the cryptic stuff, the Krypton stuff, like you're like, oh man, I put so much work, and finally I had something new, and it's nice. It's kind of cool and exciting.
Well, I somehow got the cryptic gene into my my Ultramel clown project too, because I produced a Krypton Ultramel this last year too. Wow. So I've got it floating around in all kinds of different things. I actually produced a Krypton albino, or not an albino, a Krypton het Krypton het albino I produced a few years ago too. Like completely different project, but somehow I got the cryptic gene in there. So yeah, there's probably so many different things floating around in my collection that I'm not even aware of. Just with all these. My collection initially started off very diverse. Like I had all these normal females, and most of them probably didn't have anything in them. But I know in 2003 I bought a group of, I think it was like 30 normal females, just little farm raised females, and one of those ended up being het Ultramel, and that was like right out of Africa. Just a random normal female. And one year I bred her to I bred her to a pinstripe male a couple of years in a row, and then the third year I bred her to a spider male. And all of a sudden I hatched out like 3 babies in the clutch, came out looking like Ultramels, but they were deformed too. So I did. So I'm like, well, is this female like het caramel, and is that male spider het caramel, or is this Ultramel? Because Ultramel was just starting to come out then too. It's like, I think that doesn't look like caramel. I think this is an Ultramel, but the babies didn't survive. But a year later, I bred a double het Ultramel hypo to that same female, and I had 11 eggs, and I think 10 of them hatched. And the first 9 eggs that I cut open were all normals, but the 10th egg had an Ultramel in it. And so then I proved out, okay, that normal female that I had, that like farm raised female, ended up being het Ultramel. And I bred this double het Ultramel hypo male to it, and I hatched an Ultramel, and he ended up being het hypo. So I've got like hypo floating around in my entire Ultramel collection now, and it's just weird that I happened to do that. So I believe that spider did not father the clutch with that het Ultramel, that farm raised one. I believe that was the parthenogenic clutch, because the babies all came out deformed. It just wasn't quite right, and there was no spiders in the clutch. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a parthenogenic clutch. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So, because I think you were calling it Aztec, right, for a while. The
Kryptons, yeah.
Yeah. were you pretty early on in that project then? Because I don't know how long they've been out for even. Like, I don't know how long that project's been out for, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I didn't hatch the first ones, but because when they first hatched, I remember thinking like, these are really weird. I gotta figure out if anybody else has ever produced these. And I don't remember if it was the first year I hatched them or if it was a couple of years later, but I found, kryptons, or not kryptons, but well, yeah, the cryptic gene. Somebody had that. I think it was somebody actually maybe in Europe somewhere had that, and it was a really rare thing. But I mean, I was probably one of the first people to produce them. Definitely one of the first in the U.S.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
It was all just accident. I thought I was breeding a normal pinstripe female, and she ended up being het cryptic. So pretty crazy how that works out sometimes.
So cool, man.
Yeah.
All right, I'll grab another question here.
Okay.
How are you doing? Are you doing good for time, Garrick? Like I said, whenever.
No, I'm okay. I can go a little bit yet.
Let's see. Let's jump into this one. Nazar, if you want to ask this one, buddy.
At this point, do you find it more important to produce double recessive or to stack codoms into single recessives?
I mean, it all depends on what the project is. I do like a lot of double recessive projects. Yeah, I'm doing both. So it's kind of a wishy-washy answer, but I think both of them are great. I think it's actually more important to stack codoms into double recessive projects. That's kind of where I'm going. Like I'm working on like dreamsicle or pinstripe dreamsicles, GHI dreamsicles. All the different albino clown combos that I'm working on right now. Some different clown pied combos. I guess my goal is to get different codoms into double recessive projects. But I think it's important to hit on those double recessives, get the visual double recessives first, and then start adding in those codom genes into it. But it all depends on the individual project. I mean, if you're talking like clowns, try experimenting with as many different codoms as you can in clown, because you never know if you're going to hit on that combo that's just mind blowing. Like look at when leopard went into clown and spot nose, and then you combine those, and it's just a single recessive, but you start putting in different codom genes in there. I know just on Facebook or Instagram or something, I saw an Orange Dream Batman. Somebody had posted like that's and it just looks awesome, and that's stacking multiple dominants or codominants into a recessive. So, but if you can make that like an Orange Dream Batman pied, would probably be even cooler. Like getting those recessives. Yeah.
Wow.
Coming soon, hopefully. Not too soon. Believe me, I'm not that close, but coming at some point in the future.
Orange Dream Batman.
I actually brought a clown pied to a spot nose het clown this year. So hopefully she'll go for me. I'll get some spot nose clown het pieds. And then I can get some other, dominant or codominant projects into it at that point.
Actually, speaking of which, I've always asked people this, and I'm curious on your opinion. Do you think with clown pied, like genes that would typically make for a high weight pied, do you think clown has enough power to bring some pattern back? Like, for instance, spot nose clown pied?
I don't know if clown is really going to affect. I haven't seen anything to make me think that clown is going to bring more pattern into a pied. I think it depends on whether you've got black pastel or fire into it. That's going to make a higher white clown pied. Or if you've got pinstripe or enchi, that's going to make a lower white clown pied. I think having those different genes in there that we already know can bring in pattern or take pattern away, I think is going to be the big thing. Like I produced some black pastel enchi pieds this in 2020. And those have gorgeous color. The black pastel takes pattern away, the enchi brings it in. So you get kind of I would say mine are a little higher white than 50-50, but they're kind of, they look like a nice typical mid-white pied. Gorgeous color though. The black pastel and enchi really complement each other in that gene. So I'm thinking, well, okay, if I can do that and add clown into it as well, I could get some really rich colors in that. And I'm working on trying to get both the enchi and the black pastel gene into the clown pied project right now. So the problem is when you're dealing with double recessives, it's just going to take a long time.
A long time, and and you know,
a lot of holdbacks,
and a chance to hit one. You just need like 2 racks, just double heads, you know,
mm-hmm.
to raise your chance.
Seriously, you do, yeah. Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, oh, do you? I know I just had somebody message me and it's like, hey, do you have any ready to breed like double het ultra male clowns or double het ultra male pied females or breeders available? It's like, I haven't been working on that project that long. Like, no, it's going to be years before I'm going to sell any of those double het females. And you know, the ones that I do sell always sell out as hatchlings. So like the only reason I would have like 1,000 gram double het ultra male clown or double het ultra male clown female here is because I want to breed it. So I'm not going to sell it. So, you know, some of those things, people are looking for like quicker ways to get to their goal, and it's just going to be impossible to find anything like that.
Yeah, I have the breeder female, like double visual. She is a tire, so I can sell it to you, no problem.
Yeah.
Not happening. No way. Yeah. Like, if you want it that bad, I wanted it that bad 2 years ago, and that's why I still have it. So
yeah, I mean, when is that snake not going to be worth it to have in my collection? I still have double het albino pieds that I'm breeding, females, and double het dreamsicles and things like that. And you know, eventually I'll have to move those out as I'll replace a double het with a double visual, or at least a visual and het something. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you're breeding like a double het dreamsicle to a dreamsicle, you can still produce a pretty good number of dreamsicles out of that. So it's going to be a while before that kind of stuff isn't worthwhile for me to have in my collection. So I'll keep them for a long time.
Absolutely, man.
For sure.
Pull up another one here. Before I do, I just gotta say, man, this has been awesome. Like,
yeah, this has been
again. Like,
yeah, I'm having fun. Yeah, good.
Awesome.
Good.
All right, Nazar, if you want to ask this one, man.
What would make you quit project or not? What would make you quit working on project?
Very few things I've ever given up on. One was the caramel albino. I bred those for years, and you know, some of them came out perfect, some of them came out with kinks. But when the Ultramel started becoming available, I just decided they're not the same, but I decided the Ultramel is close enough that I can kind of make snakes with the same general color palette without having the frustration of coming out with something really cool that has a kink. So I stopped. I don't have any Ultramel in my collection at all. I'm sorry, hold on. I don't have any caramel in my collection at all because I've replaced them all with Ultramel. I still love caramels. Like they're the one of those morphs that get prettier and prettier the bigger they get. But you know, it's frustrating when you get babies that come out and they have kinks, and you know, that's not my thing. Yeah. And the other one that I gave up on a few years ago is the Desert project, not Desert Ghost, but Desert. I got in on that project pretty early on, and you know, I produced a few. I never produced a ton of them, but I produced a few of them. But just the fact that the females you can't use for breeding, and I just decided at the time that I needed that rack space for other projects that were going to have a longer, more people would want them, and just a longer viability as a project. So I ended up getting out of the Desert project too. Otherwise, you know, I'm pretty stubborn. I don't quit on things very much. So I keep trying to work on them, and I can't think of any other genes that I ever actually well, you know, the Axanthics back in the day when I had a hard time selling the babies, and it just got to the point where they weren't worth it for me to even produce them at the time, especially when I had limited space and I wanted to fill that space with other things that I knew would sell better. That was when bananas were first starting to come out, and you know, they were a pretty big thing. And so I'm like, well, I can fill this rack full of stuff and make bananas instead of using this for Axanthics. So being hard to sell was the only example I can think of that I got out of a project because I had a hard time selling them. And now looking back on it, I regret that, because I wish, you know, I would have a lot of really cool Axanthic stuff if I would have kept at it and kept trying to improve them and making them look better and better, but I didn't. So.
Man, that's too bad about that Desert gene. I loved some of the
Desert gene looks really nice.
They were, yeah, nice. I produced some gorgeous Desert combos, and I really liked him a lot, but yeah, it's too bad that gene worked out the way it did.
Yeah, I know the guy. He's from Indonesia. David Suarez, his name. He's working with the desert stuff. He got some desert.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's working.
I didn't know he was working with it. That's crazy. That
Yeah.
guy produces some pretty cool stuff, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably got some stuff from you, Garrick, I'm sure.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, this is a loaded question, but again, we know it's hard because you have a larger collection, but we usually ask this one. What are some of your favorite pairings from this season?
Oh man.
Yeah, but pairings, not the pairing. So you can name a lot of them, you know, because we used to ask like big breeders like you, like, what is your favorite pairing, you know, and it's kind of blows their minds, you know, because it's really hard to choose.
Yeah. I'll list off a few of them that I can think of. I really like GHI Mojave clowns. So I'm breeding an Orange Dream Fire Krypton to a GHI Mojave clown, just for the heck of it, to see what I kind of want to see what a GHI Mojave Krypton looks like. You know, because the clown is so cool. I want to see what the Krypton looks like. So, and the male that I use happen to have Orange Dream and Fire in them too. So that's going to be a pretty unique pairing. The other one is the pastel calico yellow belly clown bred to the spot nose het clown. I'm really interested to see. Hopefully, I can hit on something with multiple genes, including spot nose in that. I'm actually breeding my pastel spot nose GHI clown male. I'm breeding him to a lot of different females, including I think a fire leopard clown female and a toffee female, or no, it's a toffee black pastel female. A lot of my favorite pairings are actually, I'm using the offspring from them as stepping stones into the next stage of the project. So as far as like what I'm going to, the bongo, you know, I'm hoping to produce some bongo lessers this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that pattern does. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see. I'm breeding, this one's going to be kind of a long shot, but I'm breeding a hypo ultramel pied to a killer clown pied, so that I could hit on some
pies,
some pastel pieds that are quad hets.
Holy crap!
So,
wow.
You know, like that.
Quad
I don't know.
Triple head. Quad or triple head?
Will be a pastel pied, and it would be het for clown, ultramel, and hypo.
Triple
yeah,
heads.
So triple, triple, yeah.
Visual triple heads.
Wow. Man.
I think that's the future. You know, everyone's will trying to make some triple, like quad, visual recessive.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I mean, it's a long shot. It's a long way, you know.
But I mean, look at how hard double hets were to hit initially, too.
Okay,
you know, and it's once, like, I think that the easiest way to do those projects is to make sure that at least one recessive gene is in common with both breeders. Like with that project, both snakes are pied, so you take that out of the equation. Everything's going to have pied in it for sure. Then you're only dealing with a triple recessive instead of a quad. So I think like upping your odds of and having as many similar genes or as many of the same genes in both parents is going to be the key. And you can, you know, eventually we'll be able to make quad recessives, and it'll be no harder than making double recessives now. So it's just an evolution and a matter of, you know, going through the time to do it. I mean, am I going to still be breeding ball pythons when the quad recessives are common? Hopefully, but you know, who knows? That might be 20 years from now, and I don't know. We'll see. But I probably will. I'll probably still be making them. So I don't know. We'll see.
The collection will just be smaller, but you'll still have them, man. You'll still.
And it probably won't be that small either, because small for me would be like 200 females, I think. So, but hopefully at that point, I don't need to like make the volume of snakes. Like I don't need to make all the more common stuff that I need to sell to pay bills, like the leucistics and the, you know, normal pieds and that kind of stuff. You know, right now I make a lot of those to pay bills, But yeah, hopefully by then, by the time I'm in my 60s, I can just try to make those really cutting edge projects and really focus on those, and not have to spend 60 hours plus a week to do it. Maybe I can get it down to 30 hours a week or something. That would be a dream. So I don't know. We'll see.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's still nice to have that dream, and regardless of how other people think, like, you get to a certain, like, oh, he's a big breeder, but you still have that dream at the end of the day, it to progress, and that's always.
No, I absolutely love what I do. I mean, if you like, when I was in high school, I mean, I always had reptiles as pets, but I never, in the late 80s, early 90s, I never dreamed that I could do something like this for a living. And most people that I knew, once I was in college, I took a trip to Costa Rica through the university that I went to, and and at the time I was an undeclared major. I was just taking like general courses. I really had no idea. All I knew is that I didn't want to have a job I hated. I couldn't imagine just going and punching a clock for a paycheck and that's it. And just, I mean, you're working the majority of the time that you're awake, unfortunately. So I couldn't imagine like being miserable during that time. And I didn't really have anything career-wise that really interested me all that much. But I knew I loved reptiles, but like I said, back in that time, nobody knew you could do something like this. So, well, when I went to Costa Rica, and by the time I got back from that, like, I was there for 3 weeks. It was a really eye-opening trip for me. I knew I had to work with animals for a career. And then I got a job at a pet store, and I also started attending a couple of reptile expos down in the Chicago area. And I started to see that there was a market for captive bred animals, because I'd go to these reptile swaps and it'd be like all this imported stuff there, and I'm like, man, if I could breed these things in captivity and sell like true, like, healthy captive bred animals, like, I think people would really buy these things. And I wonder if once I decided that this is what I wanted to do for a living, I put blinders on. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care if I have to work 20 years at it to get to the point where I can do it for a living, but this is what I'm going to do. And of course, at the time, I didn't think it'd take 20 years. I figured like 2 or 3 years, and it was a lot longer than that. I mean, it was 6 years of really hard work, and I was going to college full time. I had 2 part-time jobs, and I was taking care of a growing collection of reptiles. And I was on the move all the time. But I put in the work. I invested any money that I could, and I worked really, really hard at it. It took me, I think, 6 years after I decided that this is what I wanted to do, to where I was able to actually do it full time. And that was 21 years ago. So I've been in business full time for 21 years, and it's been a dream. I mean, I still can't believe. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I get tired of working sometimes. Sometimes Monday morning comes around. It's like, oh, I got to go answer emails for 4 hours. Then I got to pack shipments. But it's still, like, thinking about it, like, I completely love what I do, and I can't imagine ever doing anything else. I mean, this is what I do, And I had a lot of people in my life that thought I was insane. And I think most people that I met when I was in college and shortly afterwards, when they said, well, what are you going to do, or what do you do? And I'd say, I'm going to breed reptiles. And they'd think, like, you're insane. Like, you can't breed reptiles. And why would anybody buy a reptile, for one thing? And how do you think you can make enough money to make a living at it? And I proved them wrong. I'm doing very well with it, and I love it. It's very rewarding for me, and yeah, I can't imagine ever doing anything different.
Yeah, and the market now is growing bigger and bigger every year, so that's cool.
Over the years, everybody's always like, oh, the market's going to crash, ball python market's crashing, and man, it's going great. I mean, so many people want ball pythons, and all the reptiles too. It's not just all about ball pythons. It's just that happens to be my focus these days. But the reptile market in general, I think, is very, very healthy. I think the main thing is that we have to make sure that we don't have too many restrictions put on us. I promote USARK as much as I can. And, I really think it's important to be a member of that and contribute to that in any way that you can, to help us keep our rights to own and breed reptiles, because, there's some scary situations out there.
Yeah.
And things that if we don't work against those, one day we may not be able to do this type of thing for a living or even have them. So, I do think that that's very important to be active in the fight for our hobby and industry.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
That's for sure. And
right.
yeah, like up here in Canada, we don't really have anything like USARC in place, unfortunately. But I still even support USARC because I feel that, you know, especially for Canada, we tend to piggyback off a lot of things that happen in the US. So it's important.
Yeah, it's a trickle down thing. If something affects us, I mean, really, with the reptile industry, if something affects the U.S. drastically, it's going to affect the entire world. You know, like think about how many other countries get animals and these like ball python mutations and everything that get them from us. And so if something would happen where all of a sudden we couldn't breed reptiles commercially anymore, it would have affects everybody in the world. You know, because I mean, even though Europe and Canada, you can sell to people down here. Well, if we can't buy them anymore or can't get them shipped across the border anymore, you know, then you're going to have to rely on just your customers in Canada. And to an extent, that's, you know, there's probably a big enough market where that's okay. But if you have several breeders trying to do that, then all of a sudden the market starts to get kind of flooded because there is a more limited consumer base up there than there is down here. So I just think it's important to keep keep ahead of all these different laws and restrictions and just, you know, do our best. I mean, we're fighting an uphill battle, but I think, you know, if we're all motivated enough and put the effort into it and put the finances into it, that we can, you know, hopefully we can keep our head afloat and you know, everything will be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. All right. We only have a couple questions left, and then yeah, we'll probably wrap it up after that. But let's see here. Oh, I thought this was one of Nazar's. This is a good one. If you want to go ahead, Nazar.
Do you have an insurance for your facility and animals? And if so, do you think it's important for most breeders to do so?
Yeah, my facility is absolutely insured. The facility and all the equipment and everything in there. As far as the animals themselves, we used to have insurance for the animals. Right now we don't, because it was extremely expensive for the size of our collection. I know back at the time, I think when we did inventory for that insurance, I think my collection, like this is probably back in like 2012, my collection was valued at around 1.5 million. And that was just for the animal. I think that was for all the animals that we had. And it was extremely expensive to insure their lives.
Yeah,
so I decided right around that time, we decided, you know what, for something that hopefully will never happen, I think we decided to just cut the insurance back to the facility and all the equipment. The animals, what we decided to do is, instead of insuring them and spending tens of thousands of dollars a year to insure them, we would actually set up a second, smaller facility. And then, because the money that we spent on live animal insurance for 1 year paid basically for that second facility. The second place is much smaller than the first one. It's only like the size of a 2-car garage, but I've got a pretty good size collection in there. So right now, if something were to happen to one of those 2 locations, we would still have a business, and the amount of money we save from insurance, from having to pay for the insurance for them, basically, you know, I think that I feel like we're insured because we have 2 different locations, and the chances of something happening to both locations at the same time is probably not very good. So yeah, we're saving a lot of money by not having insurance on the animals themselves, but we're insured yet because we have 2 different locations. The collection is pretty well split up. So that's basically how we do it. But, you know, most people don't have the luxury of being able to have 2 different locations. They're all in the same place. And so I think it's probably important to find, you know, if you can even find insurance to, you know, to insure the lives of your animals, I think that it's not a bad thing to do. But it really depends on the level of risk that you're willing to take and the level of investment that you've done. You know, if you have a bedroom in your house or a room in your basement where you've got $100,000 worth of animals, you might want to look and see if you can get some insurance on those, because if that's your entire collection and something would happen to it, it could be pretty devastating. So I think it's just based on the individual person, how much money they've got invested, how much risk they're willing to take. But having like within your collection, having good quality thermostats, having the equipment is key. Make sure that you're using, just do everything you can do, all the fail-safe methods that you can do to keep your collection safe, I think is the most important thing. You can still have like a light malfunction or a thermostat malfunction. Fires can happen, or floods, or whatever. It can always happen, and it's always extremely unfortunate when it does. But you just got to do everything in your power to make your reptile room or whatever as safe as absolutely possible. And I think that's the main thing. But once you get to a certain size where you've got a lot of money invested, looking at insurance for them might not be a horrible idea.
Nice.
No, that's that's a good answer. I honestly never thought about that. I thought
that's a great topic, because I was thinking about it, and I mean, I still have a small collection, so I don't know if I need one, but in the future, why not? I know people are getting like a second incubator for the eggs. They have like generators in the case if the there is no electricity or something, there is no power. So you have to be prepared, for anything.
I didn't even notice because I don't have the comments up. But Chris dropped.
Yeah, Chris was here.
Yeah.
Nice. Chris bought. We did these things on the website. It was called a codon. Well, we had various different groups because back 10 years ago, 12 years ago, the number of morphs that we were producing wasn't tremendous, but we produced quite a few of each one. Like, we were doing a lot of single gene codon stuff. So we would put together you get like a super pastel male, a spider male, pinstripe male, super pastel male, spider female, pinstripe female, Mojave female, and yellow belly female. And we'd package them all together and sell groups like that because we had a large number of each of those morphs. Now, if I can't do like packs like that on my website now because I don't produce very many of any particular morph. Like all my clowns are all like every clown I produce has a different combination of genetics in it than all the other ones. So to make like a group like that and sell them is really, really tough. But yeah, he got that. He also got it was like an Orange Dream Fire pinstripe from me, a male. It might have had yellow belly in it too. I think it did actually, but that was one of the first ones of those that I ever produced too. And I remember Chris bought that snake for me years and years ago. I've been working with Orange Dream for a long time, so I think that was probably 2012. I'm gonna say.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, so do you hold back a certain amount of animals per year, or do you base the number on like which animals you end up producing, I guess?
Yeah, it's all based on what I produce and what projects I need. With a lot of like the double recessive stuff, your odds go up the more you have. So like this year I produced some double het pie desert ghost animals and some different things like that. And like I keep a lot of those females back, and then probably 2 males because I want a backup male. And so yeah, I don't hold back a certain number of animals. Like I don't go into a season saying I'm going to hold back 50 males and 150 females. It's mostly like how many can I fit in. Like I fill all my holdback racks are always stacked full every year. No matter how many of them graduate to breeder racks, I always fill them every year. So and every year I go into it saying I don't need to hold back that much this year. I'm going to keep back like the 20 best males and maybe the 30 best females, and that's going to be it. I tell myself that every single year, and every year it's like, nope, 50 males, 150 females every year. So, the word, it's good and bad, but I'm my own best customer because I get the first dibs on everything I produce. So I'll hatch these amazing things out. I'm like, oh yeah, I need another GHI Mojave Clown female. So I'm just going to hold this one back. Maybe I'll just keep this one back too. And I had 3 of them in the clutch. I'll just keep all 3 of them because it's a bonus. Like I had a really good clutch.
You have a group right now.
Yeah. So then you just end up keeping more and more and more. And sometimes even though I hold stuff back, I do occasionally go through my holdbacks and say, okay, I don't really have to have this animal. Like I held this animal back earlier in the season, but then later in the season I produced this one, which is actually a little bit better than the other one. And a lot of times I'll just say, well, more the merrier. I'll just keep them both. But a lot of times I'll say, okay, I don't have to keep that one, and I will end up selling some of my holdbacks. But yeah, I keep back way more than I need. I figured it's better to hold it back and end up selling it later than to sell it and then realize I should have kept that.
Yeah.
Which I've done a few times, and those few times that I've done that make me think, hold back everything I possibly can. I can always sell them later if I don't need them.
That's a good point, though. Like, I mean, it's always, especially early on in the season, like just you can hold back so much stuff and then just kind of see how it progresses. And
yeah, mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I don't know where I'm going to put my holdbacks this year. I've got so many from last year yet that I have no space in any racks for holdbacks right now. So once the 2021 start hatching, I'm hoping that a lot of my new, like my sub-adult females, I can get into breeding racks. So that I can free up space for holdback hatchlings. So it's going to be difficult this year. I might actually have to not hold back quite as much this year, but or I'll just buy another 3 racks and keep going.
Yeah, or maybe you will produce like the same snake as your holdback, but with extra cold down gene, or recessive gene, so you can hold back and sell that one you already have,
Yeah.
Like, but still. The one you already have, they can put a nice weight, like 400, 500, and then you don't want to sell it because, it's a baby, so I have to raise it up,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard decision.
Or you keep the older one and you use it for a year and then you replace it with the baby the next year. That's kind of what I've got holdbacks that I haven't even started breeding yet, and I've already got their replacements growing up too. So it's and chances are I'll sell something else and I'll keep both of them for a few years. But it's I mean I'm constantly growing up the bigger and better thing to replace what I have now.
And are you pretty much at capacity in terms of space for holdback, or just racks?
No, I could probably fit a lot more in if I wanted to. It's just a matter of how many do I really need, and how many. Because the bottleneck of my business, I do have an employee, and he does watering and cleaning at our main facility. I'm the only person that does all the watering and cleaning at our smaller place and the feeding and everything. I feed everything myself, and then he does the watering and cleaning at the main facility, and then he also does the rodent collection and the few geckos that we have. But I'm the one that sells everything, and I can only handle selling so many animals a year. Even if I'm wholesaling some of it, exporting some of it, retailing, it's all tremendously time consuming. So if I could probably, in my building, if I had breeder ball pythons in my main room and I filled that room up, I could probably produce 5,000 ball pythons a year, but I don't want to do that. I have no intention of ever getting to that size. So, I have I could expand if I wanted. Like I could put the contents of both facilities that I have into my main one easily. But like I said, I have them separate for that insurance purpose. But yeah, I could definitely hold more than what I do. And we are actually going to expand. We're going to expand by 54 breeder females this upcoming season. We're adding on like one more rack, actually like a rack and a half we're going to be adding on. So they're just racks that I have right now that I'm not currently using that I'm going to clean up and get them all ready. And that'll allow me to be able to keep more of my breeder females because I probably have like 70 new females that'll be ready to breed this upcoming fall. And this way I won't have to sell quite as many of my current females to make room for them, because I'll have, I think, 54 new spots to put new breeders in. So because it's really hard for me to talk myself into selling a female that lays 7 to 10 eggs a year, almost every year. It's like, well, why don't I just keep that one and make space for the new one and keep them both? It's so hard. That's the hardest thing I would say about like the planning of my business, is knowing when I have to sell something. It's really hard.
And
I bet I didn't sell. I did nothing but add on to my business with ball pythons. I did nothing but keep adding females for probably the first 12 or 13 years that I bred ball pythons, I had never sold a breeder female. I kept all of them and just added more every single year. And then I finally got to the point where I had too many, and I'm like, okay, I have to sell some breeder females because I can't handle producing as many as I do. And some of them, like I had normal females who were like 15 years old that I was breeding, and they were consistent breeders. But it's like I can't justify giving up that space for a normal female when I could put a coral glopide in that same space or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you like to get one clutch? Oh, I don't know why. That's weird. Do you like to get at least one clutch from a grow girl before you would replace?
Yeah, I very rarely ever give up on a female. I had back when I was originally producing 50% possible het albinos, I had this one that did not produce, and she didn't produce, and she was 10 years old by the time she finally produced a 50% possible het albino, and guess what she produced? Nothing. She was a normal. I kept her for 10 years, kept her, fed her. And, that was back when albinos were worth a lot more than they are now. But still, it's like, I should have just given up after probably like year 6. But I mean, I have some females that are 5 or 6 years old that have never produced for me. And like my dreamsicle female that I have, the first one I produced, she's probably about 5 years old now, and she hasn't produced for me, but I'm going to keep her until she does. And once she does, then I know I'll be able to do it again. And she probably will be here 10 years from now, at least. So, yeah, I mean, I've got another female. She's just a leopard het clown. And I produced her she's probably like 5 or 6 years old now too. And I breed her every year, and she doesn't produce every year. If she doesn't produce this year, I may sell her because it might just be she needs a change of scenery. She needs to be, maybe the temperatures aren't quite right for her. Something is with her that just is not conducing her to breed. So I might actually sell her at some point, but I'm pretty stubborn with those, though. I usually like to outlast them and keep them until they breed for me.
And you are starting to breed in the young females like 1,500 grams range and 2-3 years old, right?
Yeah, I usually I'll usually try to get females into breeder racks. Like if I sell a proven breeder female, I'll put a female in there that's maybe like 1,100 to 1,200 grams at this time of year, knowing that she'll be at around 1,500 by the time I actually start breeding her. So that's kind of what I do. I put my sub-adult females in the ones that I'm pretty certain I'll be able to breed. I'll put into my breeding racks. I don't want to have a breeding rack space filled with an animal that's not going to be able to produce. I used to be able to do that when I had empty racks and had more space. But now that I'm kind of at my maximum capacity, I have to be at least reasonably sure that this female that I'm adding into this breeder rack has a good chance to produce for me that next season.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's cool.
All right. Well, we've got a couple questions left here. We'll just let's do I guess this one we maybe already kind of answered it, but
I think that was the same question.
Yeah, that was. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we definitely answered that one. Okay, we only have one question left. This one's going to be really tough for you because you have so many on the go, but we generally
it's not that tough. The project that I'm probably the most excited about, at least one that I'm very well into right now, is the genetic stripe clown. I really like that. I just don't think that you can make that. You can't make anything that looks like that with others. And plus, you guys know I love genetic stripes. I love clowns. I've had clown in my collection since 2003. So I've had both these in my collection for a long time. I was so excited when I started seeing other people produce the combo, and my mind just started going like, oh, I know I can blow this out of the water if I get the right other genes in there in that project. So I'm really, really pumped about genetic stripe clown. That's probably as far as the double recessive stuff, that's probably my favorite one that I'm just kind of getting going on right now. So it's genetic stripe clown, I think, has a ton of potential.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm working in genetic stripe clown too, but I bred my hypo black pastel G stripe to a leopard clown. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I ended
why
up.
not throw hypo in there too?
Yeah, I ended up on 5X, 4 males and 1 female.
Those odds.
But she is building right now, so I will repeat the pairing. So hopefully I can hit more females this year. But
yeah,
that was kind of bummer for me. But still, she's going for me this year too. So.
Yeah, well, at least you got that 1 female too. That's what happened to me with the Dreamsicle project. I had those four double het males and 1 double het female, and that female did a good job for me. That's the second year I bred her. So, yeah, hopefully you'll get another clutch, and the sex ratio can be reversed for you, and get a nice group of females in there.
I like the G-strap clown. It's kind of it will be hot soon. I know a lot of breeders working with the G-strap clowns, so
yeah.
I have never seen them like personally, I just seen them in the pictures. So
yeah, they're not common, that's for sure. Yeah. I'm actually breeding an Orange Dream Fire Yellow Belly Clown to an Orange Dream genetic stripe right now. So I get some really nice double hets in there, and then I'm also breeding that pastel calico Yellow Belly Clown male. I bred that to a pastel genetic stripe female, so I should be able to get calico and Yellow Belly into that project as well. And then I'm breeding my pastel GHI Spot Nose Clown to an Orange Dream Clown. So I'm trying to get the Spot Nose and Orange Dream together into the G-stripe Clown too. So I'll have some really cool double hets hatching this year, which of course means lots of holdbacks for me again. but if I have to move out of some other project to make room for those, I'll do it, because I really think adding some of those specific genes that I have into that project.
Yes.
Because right now I've only got pastel, lesser, cinnamon, and banana into the G-stripe clown project. So I'm trying to bring in all these other genes, and then once you start mixing all those in together, there's going to be some awesome looking snakes. I mean, who knows what black pastel or what spot nose or some of these other genes? Who knows what it's going to do to the pattern of that, or GHI? It's going to be so cool. I can't wait.
That's the thing. That's the main thing, to find a right gene.
Mm-hmm.
Which can change the game and make.
I have a feeling with that project, there's a lot of right genes that we'll be able to add into it. I think everything is going to be cool.
It's so cool. It's such a visually striking genetic, so it's such a cool mix to see what's going to happen when you do throw something like spot nose or, something more color oriented into it. And it could be quite explosive.
So here's the story. Like I said, I watched your video, Garrick, where you made that genetic stripe. G-stripe leopard, and by that time I had my black pastel hypo G-stripe, and after that video I was like, dude, I gotta get a leopard, leopard clown, and after that I got the male, and put him to this female, and I'm working with the triple head stuff, so you're inspired me to work with this project, and we wish you can get as many double head females as you could to hold back, and make some amazing G-strap clowns in the future.
I'm hoping to hold back. I'm hoping to hold back at least, I'd say probably like 7 or 8 female double hats this year with all those new gene combos that I'm working on. And then I'll probably keep back the 2 or 3 best double hat males too. And I'm hoping this year, because I have so many clutches of G-stripe clown stuff incubating already, I'm hoping to hit on a few female G-stripe clowns, so then I can start growing those up, so I can breed the double het males of these newer combos that I'm doing to those visual. I don't like doing double het to double het breeding if I can help it. So I'm really
you definitely need the double visual male for those females,
So it's it'll take a little while to get that project really going with all those different genes, but I think it'll be worth it. I have a lot of confidence in it.
And if you could bring another recessive into that, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but what other recessive would you bring into genetic stripe clowns?
I don't know, maybe pied. I mean,
that's a ghost.
Yeah, that'd be a good one right there. Yeah, Desert Ghost would be cool. Yeah. That's going to be especially hard for me since I have so few Desert Ghosts in my collection, but I can work on it. Maybe I'll breed my banana G-stripe clown to something with Desert Ghost in this upcoming year and get some triple hats. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, and the question, another one: have you ever seen the GHI Mojave Leopard clown?
I don't know if I have or not. There's so many morphs out there. I don't even remember some of these things if I've ever seen them.
Yeah, because I'm kind of working toward this project, and I'm curious because I can find any of them. There is the GHI Mojave clowns for sure, super GHI Mojaves, but no leopards.
Stuff, so. I should be able to do that project this upcoming season. I don't think I have anything with them going right now where I could produce them. But this upcoming season, I'm sure I'll be working on
that. Are you going for any like super GHI pieds this year as well again?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple clutches from GHI pied bred to GHI het pied that are incubating right now. So hopefully produce some of those.
That was probably one of the nicest pieds I'd seen. I think you did it last year, right? You got the super GHI pied.
Yeah. That one unfortunately had a little bit of a kink to it.
Yeah.
And it actually ended up not surviving as well. I don't know what happened to it, but it just never thrived. But this year, I think I have 2 clutches incubating right now, and then I also have clutches either coming or maybe incubating from GHI pied to black pastel pied too. So nice. 2 different dark genes stacked into one snake, hopefully.
I love black pastel GHI mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like GHI is it's such a great gene, and pretty much there aren't many GHI snakes that I've seen combos that don't look good. So it's a great gene.
Yep.
It's a great gene. The same as Phantom. Phantom is a great gene, but almost nobody worked with the Phantom, but it's still nice. I like it.
Yeah, I'm starting to do Mystic clowns. I only have 1 visual right now, but I'm working on getting Mystic into more of my clown stuff. So hopefully be able to make some cool combos with that. Special too, doing special clowns. I think I have 2 gravid females right now. Normal clown females that I bred a special het clown male to, so be able to make some of those.
Yeah, and we had a question about if you wanna get any recessive. You said Desert Ghost, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is any co-dams that you wanna add to your collection that you don't have?
I mean, I really haven't gotten into a lot of the more recent co-dams. Like I don't have Acid in my collection. I don't have Hurricane yet. Trying to think what's that?
Lace gene.
Lace I don't have either. I don't know. I mean, I know I have a short list of different genes that I want to get in. I don't have Stranger yet either. So, there are a few things that are on my shopping list for this year. Whether or not I get them, I'm very, very picky about who I bring animals into my collection. So, if somebody that I know produces something that I want to add into my collection, I'll get it. I mean, I'm definitely going to add a few new morphs this year, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so it's we're going to
over 2 hours here now, so maybe we'll.
The time fly like always.
It does, man.
Yeah, it does.
But it's hard when we're talking snake genetics. Like I could go all day, but
yeah, I know. Obviously I can do that too. Put a quarter in me and I'll talk and talk and talk.
No, man, it's been awesome, and we really appreciate you jumping on, and big congrats on the new website and the new logo. It all looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we wish you to have an amazing season to hatch everything you want. And I have another question for you. Are you coming to an ARBC show in Schaumburg?
Yes, I am. I'm not going to have, normally at Tinley I have my NCAP booth, but this time I'm only going to have a normal, like a standard size booth, mostly because I just don't have that much stuff to sell. Like I think I have about 150 babies left from the 2020 season right now. And then I've got a few 2019s and maybe even a few 2018s I'll bring. But yeah, I mean, my inventory is the lowest it's probably been in over 10 years, just due to high sales volumes. I mean, sales have been incredible over the past really 2 years. Sales have been incredible, and I just don't have that much. I mean, I have a lot available, but not compared to what I normally have. And that show is coming up a little too early to get many of the 2021s. I had a few 2021s hatch in January through April, but probably like a total of 30 or 35 snakes. So yeah, that show is kind of taking place like right before my hatching season is really going to start, which would be nice to be able to sell off the last of the 2020s there. So
yeah, I think most breeders are at the same situation as you, because the fall and the RBC like packed with the snakes. Like everyone's bringing the best stuff, Mm-hmm. In March, it's kind of low because people are just doing the pairings, so
my selection is generally pretty good at the March show too. I actually have about as much available at the March show as I do in at the October show, because I'm not one of those people that needs to sell out right away. Like some people, it seems like by Christmas they want to be sold out of last year's stuff. I like to pace myself a little bit more and have stuff to sell year round. So this year in particular, I have less snakes for sale right now than I normally have in May, but like in March, I usually have quite a lot available yet. Like most years I probably have over 500 ball pythons for sale in March and most of those are from the year before. So my inventory, my selection is almost always really good. It's just that right now, with as many snakes as I've sold even this year already, and definitely last year, I just don't have as much as I normally do. But yeah, I mean, the October show is definitely that's when everybody's, at least most of the way through their hatching season, and the displays are all pretty packed full of stuff. But
yeah. So I'm looking forward to meet you, Garrick, on that show in Schaumburg. I'm like 15 minutes away from that show.
That show's going to be actually pretty nice for us. It's probably about 45 minutes closer to us than Tinley is. Yes. So that'll make the drive home.
For me, it's 40 minutes closer. I'm living on the north like you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice, and the area is pretty cool. So if you will decide to stay there, there's the street called Golf Road, like the best restaurants, bars in the Illinois out there, so it's a pretty nice location.
Yeah, we'll be staying at the hotel at the convention center, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a long time since I've been to a show, so it's going to be really cool to be there.
We all miss it. We all miss it, those shows.
I've liked having so many free weekends, like over the past year and a half. Without having to do shows, I've had so many weekends that I've just had nothing really to do, and I can actually relax and kind of recharge. I'm not packing animals and stuff. It's been a nice break, but I am ready to start doing a few shows again. I don't do a lot of shows in general anyway, but I'm looking forward to doing the NARBCs again for sure, and a few other shows too.
But there's any shows in Wisconsin that are you winding?
Yeah, there's actually there's a show in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They've had a couple of them already, and actually that was the last show that we went to before COVID kind of shut everything down in last year, and that was a really good show. And the people who do that show are actually doing a show in Rothschild, Wisconsin, which is basically a suburb of Wausau where I live. It's like 20 minutes from me, and that show is a week from tomorrow. So that's going to be my first show that I've done since that Green Bay show in March of 2019. So so that'll be like kind of a nice show to kind of get me back into. It'll be a smaller show, but it'll kind of like get me back into show mode. And then the next show I'll be doing after that will be at Schaumburg. And then I think I might have a couple shows lined up for Minnesota in like fall, and then of course Tinley in fall will be a great show. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun. I miss a lot of the other breeders and my friends and stuff that I only see at shows. Luckily for social media, you can still talk to people, but it's still not quite the same as seeing people in person, and mostly being able to see all the animals in person too. I mean, I miss that.
Yeah. There's a lot of animals at the show. So so I'm looking forward to meet you on the show, and thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. It was amazing life.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone who stuck around and is still watching. Appreciate everyone, and I hope everyone has a great season. You included, obviously, Garrick, and we look forward to seeing the hatchlings coming this year on YouTube. So
yeah, I'll start doing a lot more YouTube videos. I haven't been doing too many lately. Mostly just haven't had that much new to show. But we're doing a month-long celebration of our new website where we're giving away like a promo code to our website every week, and then after this is coming into the third week now, and then in the fourth week I'm going to be giving away ball python, and it's not gonna, I mean, it'll be a nice one. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but we're going to give away a pretty nice one. So people go to my website and subscribe to the newsletter, and then share any of my videos on social media somewhere. They're automatically entered, and so that's been going over really well. The reception for our new website's been tremendous. It was a long time in the works. Like, we've actually been talking about doing a new website for almost since we had our other website up. About close to 10 years now. I think we've been kind of talking about it and planning it a little bit, and then this last year we finally decided, okay, we have to do it. We need a new mobile-friendly website. We got to update it, just make it fresh and new. And I think we did a pretty good job with it. It was a lot of work, and I'm glad it's finished. The most important thing is that I actually figured out how to use it really quickly. Like, we had a couple of Zoom training sessions so I could figure out how to put snakes on the website and everything, and that went a lot easier. Like, that was my biggest fear about a new website, is that I'm not quite as technologically savvy as I was 20 years ago. So
that's kind of everyone's fear, when you're making the website.
Yeah, me and electronics don't always get along too well, so it was a nice relief to know that I could navigate and I could accomplish what I need to on this new website. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
Okay, so you had like a company that makes a website for you, right?
Yeah, it's actually a local company here in Wausau, but a great team of people, and they worked on it really hard. They're still there for me for customer support. Anytime I can't figure something out on the website, all I gotta do is email them and they get back to me right away. So we're going to be adding a lot of content to the website, and a lot of new animals coming up when they start hatching this year. And that's when my videos will really start ramping up again too. I just haven't had enough stuff. Like, I can show the same animals over and over again, I guess, but I get kind of tired of doing that. So once the hatching season starts, I'll start doing egg cutting videos, and I'll start showing off all the new new awesome snakes that I'm hatching out. So I'll have plenty of videos coming out soon.
That's cool. We are waiting.
Awesome.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much again, Garrick.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much.
So you have a nice evening.
All right. Thanks, you too.
Nice night.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, see you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.